Hi everyone. Today we'll be covering the Black Feminist Archaeology article written by Battle Baptiste. My name's Peter, and me and Mackenzie will be your presenters for today. So some of the main themes that are brought up in this article is first, institutional and structural racism. Battle Baptiste also goes through her journey of how she got into archaeology and how she got to where she is today. She also covers the Black Feminist Archaeology framework. And finally, she shows how archaeology can be a channel through which necessary change can occur. So pretty much right off the bat, Battle Baptiste gives two direct examples of institutional racism or institutional structural racism. So one, she says the poverty rate of children of African descent is so much higher compared to most other races. And also she brings up that there's such a big growing number of African and Latino males in prison compared to other races. And basically she goes on to basically say that this ingrained racism has shaped certain national dialogues that we have to make them sound so much worse, or make them sound better when they are actually so much worse. So, for example, she explains that when we are talking about the crack and drug epidemic that hit during the 80s, she basically says that we don't use the word genocide for this when really so many people died from it. And we also don't really call it an injustice when describing the institutional barriers for non-white descendants. Finally, we don't use the word apartheid for the Jim Crow laws. So basically, for those who don't know, apartheid basically means a policy that's basically like a form of segregation based on race. And the Jim Crows laws were basically literally this. They were different laws that separated white and black people in America, but we as a country really don't refer to that as an apartheid. That's something that only is applied to the racism that took place in South Africa. And going on, basically, the reason why she brings up this institutional structural racism is because Battle Baptiste wants to argue that archaeology can be a spark of interest that will allow people to confront and discuss the injustices from the past and present. So Black feminist archaeology. So the definition he gives of it is basically it is a methodology that combines aspects of anthropological theory, ethnohistory, the narrative tradition, oral history, material culture studies, Black and African descent feminisms, and critical race and African diaspora theories. So basically these theoretical approaches can be combined and used as a framework which we can have a better lens and understand and question racism, sexism, and classism in our society. And basically it allows for previously neglected studies to be inspected over the usual mainstream gender-neutral analysis that used to take place early on in archaeology. So basically this has allowed for the increase of feminist archaeology to take place, and this can be seen through the various studies that have gained a lot of research over the years. So recognizing the historical denial of Afro-Latino communities has been covered by both Caldwell and Candelario, and the erasure of women in self-liberated communities in the Caribbean have had previous studies done by Agarash and Weck. And basically, Battle Baptiste is trying to show that looking at archaeology in this new framework will allow for the previous racism and sexism and classism that took place in archaeology will now no longer be apparent.
Some of the key terms in Battle Baptiste's article require further clarification. So the African diaspora archaeology is the interdisciplinary field that studies people of African descent whose histories and present realities are linked to slavery. Second wave diaspora is the aforementioned field through the lens of second wave Black feminism. Faunal analysis is the identification and interpretation of animal remains. Phytolith analysis is the reconstruction of vegetation at historical sites when the plant life is not present. It can be burned or dissolved. Ethnohistory is the study of the development of cultures throughout time. And quarter neighborhood. So this is an urban subdivision within a neighborhood. For example, the French Quarter in New Orleans. Battle Baptiste's journey through archaeology. She entered the field of archaeology in the mid-1990s when plantation archaeology was the center of attention in Americanist archaeology. Because of her ethnic background, she's of African descent, her objectivity in African diaspora archaeology was often questioned, and her passion would be perceived as anger or rage. She wanted a better understanding of the intersectionality of race, class, and gender in the African American past. She learned that the North wasn't as race-neutral as she had grown up believing, and despite the copious inaccuracies in the archaeological record, she believes that these flaws are the stuff that keeps the discipline honest and fluid in nature and context. So she very, very briefly covers a couple case studies, the first of which is the reanalysis of Lucy Foster's home in Andover, Massachusetts. It was among the first archaeological sites of an African American to be excavated in the United States. And it was first excavated in 1942 by Ripley and Adelaide Bullen. The W.E. Dubois Boyhood Home Site in Great Barrington, Massachusetts was one of her other case studies. And it was the reanalysis of the role of female labor in the second home and the hotels of Dubois' maternal family. The Hermitage Museum is the plantation home of Andrew Jackson in Hermitage, Tennessee, and it's a 1,120-acre plot of land with such a rich history that Battle Baptiste claims it impacted her life more than any other archaeological experience. So, two significant quotes that were just rather poignant in the article. We can understand the development of race from the roots to the branches to the leaves. Race may never disappear. It is too entrenched in the psyche of the United States and the world. However, we can challenge it, reshape it, and use its history as a way to transform how our future generations may see themselves. Perceptions of the past are different in different communities across the nation. Thank you.